everyone. So in this video we are going to discuss the next topic, that is the flow control in the Python. So in the Python, flow control is basically nothing but where we are not redirecting the flow of the compilation. So suppose that if you have any conditional documents, conditional statements where you want to execute a piece of code based on the conditions, so that you can use the conditional statement. Some of the times you have to do the kind of break, continue and pass, like transfer kind of a statement. So there are three type of control flow are there. Control flow is nothing but a change the way to execute a piece of code. Okay, so how we are going to change that? So there are three ways. First way is conditional statement, second way is transfer statement, and third one is the iterative statement. So with the help of three ways we can do that. In the conditional statements we have a three case: if else if, and if else if else case. And in the transfer statement we have a break, continue and pass. And in the iterative statements we have a for loop, while loop, to change the condition. So I will explain each and every part of the control statement in the details, right, in the upcoming class. So in upcoming sessions. So first is basically if else and else if case. Suppose that if any condition is matched, then execute the piece of the statement. If not, then execute the piece of the statement. If multiple situations are there where you can use the if else kind of statements. And now coming to the transfer statements, where break, continue and pass are the keywords are there. Break is nothing but suppose you have a for loop or while loop, you are iterating over each and every loop. In that case, if you want to break your iterable for loop or while loop with the any fulfilling the condition. Suppose that you are iterating from 0 to 100. Okay, and suppose if you reach the 50, right, on 50th you want to break the conditions, break the for loop. In that case you can just check the conditions with the help of if, and you just write the break statement on the if condition. It will break the loop. Continue is nothing but a way where you can continue all the rest of the iterations. You just surpass, like you whatever the codes are written behind the continue statement, that will not going to execute in that iterations. Okay, and pass is nothing but a, suppose that you do not want to write any definitions of the any function or like that, you can use the pass. It will directly create a statement. So I will talk about more in the details with the help of examples also. And for loop and while loop is nothing but a, suppose if you have a piece of the collections like list, tuples, and you want to iterate over each and every item, so you can do the for loop. And while loop is nothing but a, suppose if you want to meet any condition, and till then you want to execute a piece of the code, in that case you can use that while loop. For loop is having the limited number of the iterations, but while loop can be limited, cannot be limited, until unless the condition is meet a true, right? So we will discuss in the details all the conditional statement and all the things in the details. So just directly jumping into the uh, Databricks sites, where we can discuss all the conditional statement based on the some examples. Okay, so suppose that I want to discuss the first topic, that is the if case. Okay, so if case where if condition is meet, then you can execute a piece of code. If not meet, then it will skip the code. That's it. So suppose that you want to take the input from the users, just enter the name, and you want to convert into the lowercase. Why? Because a user can enter either the uppercase, either the lowercase, either the combination of any of the case, right? But in the if condition, if you want going to like match that particular entered number with something hard coded, that should be the standardized, right? So either it can be lowercase, either it can be uppercase. So I just want to standardize in the lowercase. So that's why whatever the input we are getting from the users, that I'm converting to the lowercase, right? So enter the name from the users we are getting from the users and converting into the lowercase, right? So either this will be typed by the user, either this will be typed by the user, either this will be typed by the user. All of them are going to be converted and make it as a lowercase like that. So suppose if user has entered the name Dinesh, either any of the case, it will execute this piece of code. If the name is entered as a Dinesh, this condition will become a true, right? And that will going to be execute this piece of code. If enter the name is not a Dinesh, other than that, in that case it will not going to make a true. In that case this will be skip. So this iteration part, this whole if condition will be going to skip in that case if it is not a match. And for the matching case, whatever the input you are getting from the user, you have to use the assignment equal to operators, where double is equal to you are going to use to match the conditions, right? If I'm going to run this piece of code, right, and if I'm going to enter the name as a Dinesh, right, as it is Dinesh, either the uppercase, lowercase, any case, and once it will going to enter, it will match the name as in Dinesh, and whatever the piece of the statement is written here within a if statement is going to be executed here, right? And end of this statement will be always execute, because this is not a part of if conditions. Suppose if I am not passing any name, I am passing any name other than the Dinesh, let's suppose Ram, if I am going to pass, so it will not going to match with the Dinesh, and this if condition will be skip. If you see that in the output, only I am getting the last statement outside of the if condition. So this is the nothing the best use case of the if case in the Python. Now talking about the if and else case. Okay, so if and else case, where suppose that if condition is match or true, then execute this piece of code. If condition is not met or like false case, in that case this piece of code is going to be executed, right? This is the simplest way, if and else. Either this one, either this one. Condition is match or true, in that case execute this piece of code, otherwise this piece of code. Suppose that if you are going to log in into computer, if you are trying to enter your credential, it will take your credential and it will authenticate and it will tell your name also, right? But if you are not authenticating yourself and you are entering as a guest, it will print as a guest user, right? Like that. So if I'm going to execute this piece of code and entering the my name as a my name Dinesh, right? And if you see that here we are not using the uppercase or lowercase, we are not converting to the uppercase and lower, right? So in that case we have to explicitly pass the name as in lowercase, then only it will be match, right? If I'm passing the name as a Dinesh, it will match as a Dinesh and it will tell me the my name, this line of the code, right? And again if I'm going to run this piece of code and passing the name as in Dinesh in the other letters, like with upper letter and lower case combination, so this will not going to match, right? Why? Because whatever the input we are getting from the users, we are not converting to the lower case in the standard format, right? So in that case it will not going to execute if statement, it will treat me as an else part, because this condition has been false, right? And this else part will be going to execute good morning guest, and this one, right? Understood? And other than this Dinesh, if I'm going to pass again, let's suppose Ram, then also the else part is going to be execute, correct? Now the third case, that is the if else and if case. So in that case, suppose that you have a multiple conditional match where you want to match a multiple case, right? So in that case, you can use the if else if case. Suppose switch case are there, right? You want to match in the multiple times of way, right? In that case, you can have the if else if, and in the last you have the else part also, right? Suppose if you want to match any brand name whatever the user has input, you can just take the brand name and then match with the first if part. If it is matching, then else if else part. If it is matching, then else part. So always remember the execution will be happen in the line by line, right? It will match line by line, and whatever the not matching, let's just go with the next else part, correct? Suppose if I'm going to run this piece of code and I'm just uh, sending the brand name as FO, right? FO, this one. So it will match with this else part, this condition will become a true, this piece of the line is going to be run, and then that's it, right? And if I'm passing any name which is not having any conditional matching, right, in that case last else part will be going to be execute other recommended, right? So this is the very good example of the if, else if and else case. I hope you understand these examples. Thank you so much.